Hello again. So this is part two of my testimony. So just to very briefly recap, I was carried into a church, very very drunk, and made a commitment there. Actually had a an experience and went from being very angry, and bear in mind justifiably angry, nevertheless angry enough to commit murder. Uh, I didn't actually carry it through. Um, However, 2 weeks after what happened at the church, it's quite interesting, really, that I thought everything was okay. I was seemed to be relaxed and happy and everything. You know, nothing had changed other than the fact that it was how I was reacting to everything was different. The pressure was still there. I was still going through a divorce, and I still wasn't seeing the children. And my wife was still making false allegations. Um, but anyway, this particular night, went to bed. Nothing out of the ordinary. I'd been probably reading. I may well have been reading a Bible or not. I can't remember. I know it was somewhere next to the bed, but I may have been watching TV, reading whatever. I can't remember the details about that. But um, I think that's right. I fell asleep. I must have been reading because I fell asleep with the light on. Um, Actually, was the very room I'm in right now, um, and the light was one fixed to the ceiling, not particularly bright, not bright enough to read without any difficulty. Fell asleep, and then awoke in the middle of the night um, to what I can only explain as a really bad feeling. Um, and as I looked at the light, so I woke up initially, saw the light was still on, and then all of a sudden the room around the light went dark. The light was still lit, bright, but didn't penetrate at all into the darkness. It was as if almost there was a mask around it. And I'm laying in bed looking at it thinking, what on earth is going on? And then, so picture it now, I'm in total darkness apart from a light that isn't penetrating any darkness, it's just lit. Almost imagine a TV screen with a couple of pixels lit white, and that was it. That's kind of what it looked like. And then I felt something at the base of the bed. I couldn't see anything again initially because it was so dark. My eyes were supposed were getting used to the darkness sort of thing, adjusting. But I felt weight on my feet, and then slowly, whatever it was big and it was heavy, and it was crawling up my feet, my legs, and it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying, because I couldn't make anything out properly. I just felt weight. I could see the light, but the light not penetrating. It was in darkness. And eventually, this thing got very close. By this time, I had a terrible, terrible feeling of impending doom, of real terror, real terror. But I was frozen. I couldn't move. I remember trying to move in bed and I couldn't move. It's awful. And then this thing sort of like came into my vision. And it was really close to my face, probably um, inches off my face, and I could make it out. And it looked like a giant black shrew. It had very kind of shiny fur, brushed back, very, very not curly, straight, completely straight fur, very, very long snout. And what I really noticed was its eyes. They were like dark, but they had two glints in them, so I could just about make all this out. And it was terrifying. It really was. And by that time, I was thinking, oh, well, what the hell am I going to do? And this thing was trying to get into my mouth, and nothing was said, no sounds were made, but I knew if this thing managed to get into my mouth, it would make me, or enable me, or whatever you want to say, I would commit murder. There was no two ways about it. This was going to come to pass. This was going to happen. I couldn't stop it. Once it got inside my mouth and entered my body, I would lose total control over myself and over my actions, and it would become almost involuntary, I guess. It was really, really frightening. And this thing was coming closer and closer, and I was, like I said, frozen. And I remember glancing to the side, and the tiniest rainbow I could see. And when I say tiny, I don't know, it might have been half an inch across, maybe less than that. But really brightly intense, because bear in mind, the room was, almost completely dark, apart from this light that didn't shine light out anywhere, and this creature on top of me. And I reached out towards the rainbow, and as I reached out, the Bible that I must have been reading, my hand caught on it, and it was just like the whole thing went back and bam, all disappeared, all went back to normal. The light was shining normal. I was in a normal room again, thinking, what the hell just happened? At the time, my parents lived here as well. I went running through to their bedroom. Bearing in mind, I have had a history with drugs, okay? Various hallucinogenics and whatnot. I know what it's like to get stoned. I know what it's like to trip and whatever. And this was not a trip, I can tell you now. And I made them come back into the room and check it out, and I'm sure they must have thought, oh God, he's completely cracked up. Anyway, we had two pet dogs at the time, a Yorkshire Terrier and one of the black ones, a Scottie. And I think I got the Yorkshire to sleep at the bottom, not on the bed, because I'm not keen on dogs in bedrooms, but I made sure she slept at the bottom of the bed, and I thought, well, nothing is going to come in without disturbing that dog, So my parents knew that I was really upset and, affected badly by this. Well, I went back to sleep eventually, and it was very troubled sleep, and it was all dreams about angels and demons fighting. And I woke up in the morning, probably about 10 o'clock in the morning, exhausted because I hadn't slept well at all. I remember going downstairs and my mum saying, do you want some breakfast? And I said, no, I'm just going to go out for a quick walk and just clear my head a bit. So she said, fine. Walked across the road from where I live is a large area of green grass. And as I got across onto the grass, I looked up into the sky, and now bear in mind, this is now fully awake and, functioning in the world, as it were. The clouds separated into layers, almost steps, and on each of the steps there were angels and demons fighting. It's like, what the hell? I carried on walking, sort of thing, and just kind of like looking around, thinking, what the hell has happened? And then I noticed as I was walking towards the park, the Worden Park isn't very far. It's only a couple of minutes walk, if that. As I started to walk down, there's like a pathway with trees on either side of it. As I got there, on the floor, 15 foot away from me, that's all, on the floor was an angel and a demon fighting in a death. They were both sort of like fighting to kill each other or whatever. And I looked at it and I thought, well, that's it. I have completely gone stark raving mad. I've gone insane. And as I had that thought, it all disappeared. The angel and demon fighting on the floor in front of me. There was an older the steps with it in the clouds with angels and demons fighting, and I looked. I was looking around, thinking, in disbelief, and I walked. Then I think I walked back home. I can't actually remember whether I carried on walking or not. But I think I came back home. I didn't tell anybody. I thought they're really going to think I've cracked up here. I told them eventually, maybe months later or whatever, but at the time I didn't feel like I wanted to share. But within days of that happening, my wife actually stepped up what she was doing, and it became absolutely untenable, the pressure she was putting both me and the entire family under. And I am absolutely 100% convinced that the reason that this secondary demon was sent was to ensure that I didn't commit murder, which I suspect I may well have done had that warning not been sent to me. People sometimes speak about the fear of God. I know exactly what the fear of God is. I've seen it. I know that God sent that demon. What God says happens. It doesn't matter who it is, be it demonic or angelic. He calls the shots. End of. That's real power. And of course, things gradually worsened and worsened over the next few months and possibly into a year with my wife, and who eventually became an ex-wife. And eventually I never got to see the children in the end, but I never once considered harming her after that. I didn't dare, because I was bloody terrified of where that was going to take me. Consider.